So good morning, everybody, and welcome to the WMCA hosted webinar to celebrate the news announced by the Secretary of State, Right Honourable Robert Jenrick, made on Saturday that Wolverhampton has been chosen as the second national headquarters for his department, MHCLG. In terms of what we're going to do this morning, we're going to hear from the Secretary of State about the rationale in just a moment. We will then get the political response from the city's 3 MPs and the leader of the council. Then I'm going to call on a number of the other leaders from Wolverhampton from various different sectors. And then we will throw it open for questions, either from other invited guests or indeed from the journalists. We do all need to be brief because I remind us we've just got 45 minutes to deal with this. So very pleased now to pass straight over to the Secretary of State, Robert Jenrick, to hear his views behind the announcement. Rob, the floor is yours.
Well, good morning, Andy, and good morning, everybody else. Thank you very much for coming together. I was absolutely delighted to announce on behalf of the government on Saturday that my department, MHCLG, is going to be the first government department to create a dual headquarters outside of Whitehall. The Prime Minister, the Chancellor Duchy of Lancaster, Michael Gove, and the whole government has been working on plans to move many civil servants out of Westminster and into the regions, into our great cities across the country. Not just to create jobs and investment in those places, important though that is, and I'll come on to that in a moment and see what our plans are. But I think it's more important than that. It's also about ensuring that we as government departments are closer to the communities that we seek to serve, and that we are involving local voices, and that people who actually live in those places are the ones making the policy decisions. And what better decisions we might make as a country if that was the case. So MHCLG will be the first department to do this. I think that's absolutely right, because in many respects, we are the department of levelling up, the department of housing, of local government, and of communities. And we want to be the department that is out there in the English regions, making sure that our policy making is happening in the places that we actually want to represent. We're going to be launching our second headquarters, as you say, Andy, in Wolverhampton. We looked across the Midlands at a range of different locations and chose Wolverhampton for its great transport links on the West Coast Main Line, which means you can get both north and south so quickly, close to the motorways, with great universities like the University of Wolverhampton and access to the broader West Midlands conurbation, and of course out into beautiful countryside in Staffordshire and Shropshire as well. I know it has a very rich history. I was fortunate enough to be born and go to school in Wolverhampton and care a lot about the city. So it's my pleasure as well personally to be involved in making this significant investment in the future of the city as well. And I hope that this will give pride and prestige to the city, help to bolster its very ambitious plans to attract private sector investment and to regenerate and redevelop parts of the city centre, both the high street areas, but also around the station and the canals, which I've seen in recent years and I'm very impressed with. I hope that it will ensure that the universities, the colleges and schools can build strong links with us as a department through graduate recruitment, through apprenticeships as well, and that it helps to raise the stature of the city. And one of the choices that we made as a department was to choose a slightly smaller city like Wolverhampton. Of course, we've got many great cities like Birmingham and Manchester and Leeds, all of which are ideal locations for government departments. But we at MHCLG saw a strong rationale for going for a slightly smaller city because we felt that the impact that we as a government department could have there would be all the greater. And I very much hope that is what will happen in the months and years to come. I'm going to introduce my permanent secretary, Jeremy Pocklington, in a moment, who will say more about the next steps of selecting an office and then beginning to build up members of staff, civil servants within the city. But we hope that this will lead to hundreds of jobs moving and being created within Wolverhampton, that there will be the full breadth of the civil service. So there will be apprenticeships and more junior positions, but also senior civil servants as well. And so we break the mould and mean that people don't have to leave Wolverhampton or the West Midlands and come to Whitehall to develop careers in the civil service and reach the higher echelons, but actually that you could do that while staying home Wolverhampton and the West Midlands, which I think is a very important change to the civil service and the way it works as well. We're very much looking forward to making this happen and to becoming, I hope, an integral part of the city and of the broader West Midlands very soon. We're going to be looking for the office, and then my hope is that by the summer, if we can, we could be in a position to be opening our office and making this happen. As a minister, the other thing I should say is that we want to be actively based in the city. This isn't just about members of the civil service, it should also be about ministers, and that you should be as likely to meet me or my ministerial team in Wolverhampton as you would today in Whitehall. And so both me and my ministers have committed to spending part of the week wherever we can in Wolverhampton, in the offices there. And so Andy, you and I might be meeting next time in Wolverhampton rather than us down to London. And of course, I'm very fortunate that I've got a ministerial team with deep roots in the Black Country, with Eddie Hughes from Walsall and Chris Pincher from Tamworth, but born in Womburn. So 3 out of my 5 ministers have all got Black Country roots. So we're very much looking forward to doing this personally, as well as on behalf of the department. With that, I'll hand over to Jeremy, who will say a few words on behalf of the civil service about the broader programme, which we've called Beyond Whitehall, and what our plans are for the department.
Thank you, Secretary of State. I would just like to add, on behalf of all the civil service in the department, how excited we are by this move that we were able to announce at the weekend, to lead the way on behalf of the civil service to be locating more roles and have more of the department located outside London. In terms of what we'll be doing now following the announcement, well, we begin the search for a location in Wolverhampton. We hope we can conclude that quickly, and within a few months we will be able to identify a suitable location to get that ready as quickly as we possibly can, and in a matter of months be able to open our second headquarters there. This is part of our programme to significantly increase the number of roles outside London in the department in the coming years. Our aim is to double that by 2025, so that we will have a total of 1,000 roles outside of London, about half of those in the West Midlands, and significantly expanding our presence in Wolverhampton as part of that. So a really big increase in proportion of staff numbers outside of London. And as the Secretary of State says, it's important for us that this is not just about so-called back office roles, but it's also our main policy roles as well, and not just junior staff. It's about senior civil servants as well being located in the region. We've already begun that and have been increasing our recruitment, including of senior roles, in the West Midlands in recent months, and so we're well placed to expand that in the months and the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jeremy, and indeed thank you both for the decision that you have taken. Now we will turn to the reaction, and we'll start off with the political representatives of the city. So first of all, to the leader of the City Council, Councillor Ian Brookfield. Ian.
Thanks, and can I thank the Secretary of State and indeed the Permanent Secretary as well. Robert Jenrick says, you know, it's one of the smaller cities. Well, yes, you're quite right, but a small city with a big heart and a big ambition. And the announcement, the historical announcement that was given over the weekend, we just have to realise what that actually means. For the first time, our Parliament is going to have one of its main seats of debate and decision, not just based in Whitehall, not just based in London, and that makes a huge difference. Like everyone says, we're over the moon. We're ready, willing, and able. And I have to thank this has been a cross-party effort by ourselves since we first heard about the potential interest, and we've worked together all across cross-party to sell ourselves, to see what we can do, because we not just recognise the potential jobs that come with it, although we understand a lot of people will move north, and we want to welcome them. There is life after Watford Gap, And it's Wolverhampton. We've got some fantastic schools, homes, leisure facilities. In fact, you can do anything you want here, but probably at the quarter of the price of living down in the smoke. So we welcome those people. They will see a definite improvement in quality of life. But that opportunity to work with the department, to see how, as it grows, we can link in with the university, our educational department, to see how we can grow some of our own. That would be absolutely fantastic. Like we say, we're a growing city, over £4 billion worth of investments due into our city. The new National Brownfield Institute working with the university, Kilnarside Quarter, and don't forget, it's visitors as well. I've been down to Whitehall and seen hundreds of people sitting in those queues and in the reception area, and this will be fantastic for people who perhaps can't get to the smoke as easy. You know, so from all over the country, they can come to Wolverhampton. We've got those fantastic transport links. So it's a big deal for the city of Wolverhampton. And I personally would like to thank everybody involved for the work they've done. Jeremy's talked about his speed. We're ready, willing and able to meet the timescales he's setting out. So thank you and welcome to Wolverhampton.
Thank you very much, Ian. And now I'm going to turn to our three MPs. I'm going to be old-fashioned and say ladies first. Jane, do you want to go first?
Thank you very much, Andy. I'm absolutely delighted. I'm so pleased for the city. It's my home city. I've always been a very proud Wolverhamptonian, and I think this does absolutely put us on the map. It really marks something very, very special going on in Wolverhampton, and I think it's a unanimously positive reception. And to me, this is the start of something a little bit bigger. In the last year, I know the Secretary of State, you visited the National Brownfield Institute and the School of Architecture and the Built Environment with me and with Andy. I think this has the potential to set us up as a real centre of that green home building industry and all the technology we need to move forward with non-traditional building techniques, all of that sort of housing of the future. There are so many jobs in that. There is so much potential for our city, and I think this knits together what the college is doing, what the university is doing, and what government is doing to get with the green agenda and build the homes we need, with sort of those considerations in mind. I can't wait for people to arrive in Wolverhampton and to see that recruitment going on locally. I've already said to the Secretary of State, I'm very happy to be a tour guide and show people the fantastic sights of the city. So I just want to say thank you so much for this decision. I think it's brilliant for the city. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your brevity, Jane. And we'll next go to the city's longest serving MP, to Pat McFadden. So Pat, the floor's yours.
Thank you, Andy, and thank you, Secretary of State. I would just echo, I think this is a great announcement for the city. I warmly welcome it. The policy of putting more civil servants outside London and around the country is a really good thing to do for many, many reasons. I remember many years ago as a minister in the Department of Business, when at that time we had all the skills staff based in Sheffield, and I'm sure that was good for Sheffield, and this will also be really good for Wolverhampton. It's a great city for the reasons that have been outlined. It's in a great place, it's easily accessible for around the country, and investment in the city is happening at a really good time. I also think that COVID, perhaps not in a planned way, but it's shown that maybe being located in central London is not as important as people once thought it was, and it's shown that we can really we can work from anywhere in a way maybe that we didn't even realise a year or so ago. And the announcement comes at a good and important time, because local MPs were briefed just a couple of weeks ago about the rise in unemployment in the city over the past year. It's gone up over 70% in the last year, over 7,000 more people unemployed since the pandemic began. So the announcement of these new jobs is really, really welcome in the context of that very difficult unemployment situation. I'd be really grateful if Jeremy or the Secretary of State just clarify the numbers involved. I've had a look at the departmental website. I think we're talking about an extra 500 posts envisaged, but the website also refers to 300 that already exist. So I just want to be sure that it's 800 in total in the region, which I think is the case, and not 300 and 200. The website is just a little bit unclear about this. So hopefully we can get that clarified. And I think this is a really good announcement for the city, and I warmly welcome it.
Thank you very much, Pat. Let me bring in Stuart then. Perhaps I'll pass back to you, Jeremy, if that's okay. So Stuart Anderson, MP for Wolverhampton South West, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Andy. And I first want to thank the Secretary of State, Robert Jenrick, on behalf of the city for having the confidence and the vision and believing in our city and the government of making this move. It's outstanding. I am delighted to have played a part in this historic move with other MPs, Pat and Jane, within the city, Ian Brookfield, the leader of the council officers, Tim Johnson, and everyone else involved. We have showcased the best of Wolverhampton, but we haven't just done it for this move. We've seen over the last 12 months a city come together as one city, united in fighting this pandemic. And I believe that unity, cross-party in this city has been our best weapon of defeating this virus. So we've stood together in this dark time. We will stand together moving forward, and we will come through this stronger. This move by MHCLG is just another piece in the jigsaw of moving our great city out of darkness into light, as our city motto says. So Wolverhampton has a proud heritage, and I'm delighted to be involved and truly humbled to play a piece in this puzzle. But I also believe our future is going to be far better than our past, and I am delighted to be involved here. Thank you for everybody that's made this happen, and I look forward to working with everyone cross-party, united as one city, to see our city thrive and prosper. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you very much to all four of you for that reaction. Jeremy, would you just like to pick up the question that Pat has asked?
Of course, very happy to do that. Let me set out the numbers for the department. So we employ a total of about 2,400 people. We currently have 500 people based outside London. We're announcing as part of our plans to recruit a further 500 people outside London by 2025. The great majority of those will be in the West Midlands. So we have 300 people there at the moment, and significant numbers will grow in the coming years. We plan to start recruiting. Well, we already have been recruiting more into the area. We plan to start recruiting to Wolverhampton in advance of the office opening, which, as I say, is a process that will take a number of months, but we want to do it as quickly as we possibly can.
Thank you very much, Jeremy. Now, what we're going to do now is just turn to other leaders, non-political, from the city, really, just to explain a bit about what it means to them and indeed how they'll play a part in welcoming your teams, Jeremy, and indeed to the Secretary of State, and what they can do to make a success of it. I've got lots of people who I know would love to contribute. There isn't time for everybody, so I'm going to call one or two who I know will give a particular view. And we're going to start with the University of Wolverhampton, Deputy Vice-Chancellor Julia Clark. Julia.
Thank you. And thank you to everybody who brought this move about. Colleagues and students at the University of Wolverhampton are delighted that our city has been chosen as the dual headquarter for the department. 80% of our students come from the West Midlands, and the majority are the first in their family to go to university. So this move and the boost it provides to the local economy provides a great opportunity to retain their talent in the region. So when they come on the train into Wolverhampton, ministers and civil servants will see our fantastic new Springfield campus. This is the base for our architecture and built environment programmes. It will also be the location for the National Brownfield Institute when it opens later this year. So we are really looking forward to working with the department and to continuing working with our regional partners on this exciting new chapter for Wolverhampton. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Julia. And next, I'm going to pass to a Wolverhampton legend. I hope that's fair. Wolverhampton Wanderers Football Club, and to Russell Jones, who is the general manager at the Wolves. So, Russell, floor's yours. You should be.
Very much, Andy. Yes, you're right. I do believe that we are legends. It's very nice to be recall that. I mean, certainly on behalf of Wolverhampton Wanderers, I'd like to welcome you to the city. We're really delighted to have you join the pack, as we like to call it. Massive congratulations to the City Council. It says an awful lot to me that you've seen the potential in our great city, and that you have chosen Wolverhampton. So, you know, look, we're absolutely delighted. It's fantastic for the profile of the city, which obviously the club also work incredibly hard to raise around the world. And I'm also really happy to hear about how it's going to increase employment in the city. So, look, on behalf of everybody at Wolves, congratulations. It's fantastic news.
Thank you very much, Russell. And now we'll turn to the business community. Not the Wolves isn't part of the business community, and his own legend, I would probably call him. Ninda Johal, who, as we know, has had roles in the Black Country LEP, and of course chairs currently the Towns Fund for the city. So, Ninda, floor's yours.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Listen, it's fantastic news. We have great MPs, we have a great mayor, we have a great council. But, you know, business always wants to get close to the ear of national government. And this is a perfect example. Business provides the jobs, the products of tomorrow, and the wealth creators. And of course, for us, leveling up is so important. And the area is full of innovation. This is where the Industrial Revolution started. And there's nothing better for business than to be able to get the ear of national government. Business is going to play a huge role post-COVID-19, and only if partnership between government and the private sector is consolidated will we have a great future. And of course, that partnership is both local, regional and national. So Wolves were really pleased that you're coming to join us here, and I think it just tells you what a wonderful city, and a city full of ambition.
Thank you very much, Ninda. And next we pass to your erstwhile partner in crime, Sarah Middleton, the CEO of the Black Country LEP. So, Sarah. Sarah, you just need to unmute your microphone.
There you go. Sorry, first one to do that. So good morning, Secretary of State, and I'd like to add my congratulations to Team Wolverhampton for bringing this fantastic investment forward. I think it's really a confidence boost at this time to the city and the broader Black Country and West Midlands region. Be brilliant for our young people to see those career opportunities right within their city. I think it's worthwhile just reflecting on the partnership of investment that has happened in the preceding years, the fantastic investment in the railway station, the connectivity through the motorway junction and all of those kind of improvements. And there's been lots of references to brownfield land investment, which I think is a really good focus for the city moving forward. And then to the future, I just think the future is ours to create from this investment opportunity. We welcome the confidence that this decision will make and really look forward to continuing the partnership work to make the most out of this opportunity that's been presented through the announcement. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sarah, and for all that you do every day. And next we're going to go to the retail sector, maybe a beneficiary, was mentioned by the Secretary of State, to Richard Sharon-Guival, who is the manager of the Manda Centre in the city centre. Richard.
Thanks, Andy. Very much we see this as fantastic news. It potentially brings hundreds more people to the city centre on a daily basis, spending their time in the city, and in turn, hopefully spending their money in the city too, boosting the economy. So all sectors stand to benefit, not just retail. Love the fact that it raises the profile of the city, puts Wolverhampton on the map, and we really welcome the announcement today and see it as a hugely positively step forward.
Thank you very much, Richard. And then the last two contributions I'm going to call, and I say last two because that means if the journalists on the call want to ask any questions, just put your little green hand up, then I'll know you want to come through, and I'm pleased we've got one or two already. So we will next go to, let's call it the Christian community. and to Matt Lambert, who's also from Enterprise Homes. So, Matt.
Yeah, hi, so I represent an organisation that's very closely linked with the work of MHCLG around social inclusion, homelessness and community. We obviously welcome opportunity to have the ministry locally in our city in Wolverhampton, and particularly to see local voices and interests at the heart of policy and decision making, especially in these which are our main areas of concern. Our hope is obviously that this is going to bring a measure of prosperity to our city, and that we will be able to work together with the ministry, West Midlands Combined Authority and our local authority to ensure that the benefits and impact of economic growth are felt across the board, including some of the poorer and more marginalised members of the community that we represent within the voluntary sector.
Thank you very much, Matt. And then we go across the city to another of the iconic places, the Sedgley Street Gurdwara, and we're going to hear from the Secretary, Gurdeep Aulak. Gurdeep, the floor is yours.
Hi there, thank you, Andy, and thanks to the Community Secretary, and thanks to the Wolverhampton team. From a community point of view, I would say this is the announcement I've never thought I will hear, to be honest with you. We always, as a joint family in our communities, mainly, that's the concept. And it's a shame when we have to travel south to just for the jobs. So to me, though, I think personally, it's a big achievement, and especially around being the country first. This is kind of a theme in this small city, we call it. So we've done the COVID-led testing, which was the first in the country. Now we are the first in the country again to have this department outside Whitehall. So to me, I think personally, thanks for everybody who's on this call, who worked above the party line for the betterment of Wolverhampton. And I think if we guys keep this one up and we all join, the local communities will always support you guys in the initiatives for the Wolverhampton. We are proud Wolverhampton residents, and we'd like to keep it this way.
Thank you very much indeed, Gurdeep. And now we're going to go to questions. If we just put the screen, yes, I've got a few questions. So the first, and please, if there are any non-journalists who also want to ask a question, you are very welcome. You just have to put your green hand up. But these three characters all know how this system works from every Friday afternoon. So first of all, we go to Jonathan Walker of Reach PLC. So Jonathan. Just open your mic, Jonathan.
There we go. Thank you, Andy. Can I just check, following on really from Pat McFadden's question, have I understood this correctly? It sounds as if there's going to be something approaching 800 people working at the new centre, the new headquarters. But is that right? Is that the number that's going to be actually working at the new headquarters, approaching 800 people? Also, can I ask, how is the work going to be divided? Are there sort of different things that it makes sense for people to do in London and different things that it makes sense for people to do in the West Midlands? And finally, Mr. Jenrick, can I ask you perhaps, in an ordinary working week when when Parliament is sitting or when Whitehall is operating at full capacity, how many days a week do you imagine you might be spending in Wolverhampton? 1 day a week or 2 days a week? How often are you going to be up here?
Thank you. And please, I should let the Secretary of State overrule me if I get this wrong, but I think on the numbers, you'd probably prefer Jeremy Pocklington to answer the question, then we'll come to you. So if that's okay, Jeremy, to you first of all. You can open your microphone, Jeremy.
Thank you. I hope you can hear me. If my webcam seems to have been taken off, but I hope you can all hear me now anyway. Well, brilliant. As I said earlier on the numbers, so we currently have 300 people working in the region in MHCLG as part of 500 that we have located outside London as a department as a whole. By 2025, we want to increase the number working outside London to 1,000 as a whole. There'll be at least 500 in the region, if not more, because we want to have at least a significant number of the additional 500 that we are recruiting. Not majority of that 500 actually in in the region. So that gives you a sort of sense of the scale. We want to go even further by 2030. So it's a significant increase in the department. So we will have half the department working out of London by 2030. And I hope as part of that, a majority perhaps in the West Midlands.
Thank you, Jeremy. And Robert, I'm going to pass back to you for the second half of the question. I know you'd like to be here 5 days a week, but that's not possible. So I'll leave you to answer.
Sorry, I think my phone was muted then. Well, there are particular challenges, as you say, when Parliament is in session. We have to be here to speak in debates and to answer questions. I'm doing my department's questions later this afternoon. And it's also important for Parliament to be able to challenge and hold ministers to account. And sometimes that can happen at short notice. So I think for most of the week when Parliament is in session, then ministers would be here in Westminster. That's unavoidable. But I would like to think that Secretary of State and those ministers, particularly at the moment where we're very fortunate to have ministers who are local to Wolverhampton, that at least one day a week, some or all of us would be based in Wolverhampton. And then, of course, there are long parliamentary recesses when ministers keep working. And so that gives added opportunities to be in the region. And I think there's every reason to believe that if we were holding a meeting on issues affecting the West Midlands, for example, that ministers would come to Wolverhampton to hold that meeting rather than expecting, as they have for too long, Andy, Ian, those representing the region to come down to Westminster, which I think sets entirely the wrong example. In terms of the focus, well, I think we will look over time to focus particular parts of the department in Wolverhampton. And as you've already heard, an obvious area of interest would be housing, because there's such great strength already and emerging in Wolverhampton around the future of housing through modern methods of construction and the focus on the brownfield sites, which all of us want to be the first port of call for new housing wherever we can, particularly in places like the West Midlands. So I think that would be a very useful focus for the department's hub in Wolverhampton.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary. Now, the next, Jonathan, you all okay with that?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. In which case we go to, dare I say it, another Black Country legend, political editor of the Express and Star, Pete Madeley. Pete.
Thank you, Andy. Kind words indeed.
Won't get me anywhere.
A couple of questions from me. First of all, I'd like to ask the local politicians and the Secretary of State, have you got any, or have any of you got any preferences for where this site could be? I know you've the Secretary of State has said the search is on for a location, and I know the I9, the brand spanking new I9 development has been mentioned in the past as well. Has anybody got any ideas of where these stuff could be located? And secondly, I'm sorry to keep, I know this has been asked a couple of times now, but I'm still not strictly clear on the number of staff that are going to be in Wolverhampton. Could Jeremy clarify, are we talking about 500 staff being based in Wolverhampton, or is it an extra 200 staff that are going to be based at this new site?
Okay, let's just take, do you want just to deal with the numbers again, Jeremy, very swiftly if we can on that? Jeremy, are you able to come in again?
Can you hear me now? I think
yes.
I'm brilliant. Thank you. I think we've covered the numbers. So there'll be our plan to perhaps give a bit more colour to the numbers is we'll be starting to recruit in Wolverhampton. Even in advance of having an office location identified, and you've touched on that in this question, we want to move quickly to recruit there. As I said, we've got about 300 people in the region at the the moment. We want to have at least 500, if not more, people in the region by 2025 as part of our overall plans to have about 1,000 of members of staff based outside of London.
Okay, thank you, Jeremy. Now then, I'm going to ask each of the city's MPs and indeed Ian Brookfield for a quick response on locations, but we do have to make it as swift as possible. So we'll go in the opposite order this time. So Stuart, do you want to go first?
Yes, I know I've asked it in the chamber after speaking with the council. The I9 is a purpose-built building right by the train links and the bus links. I think that would be perfect to start out, but we've got to look longer term with more going up to 2030. I'd love to see a purpose-built building within our city centre that attracts more people into the city centre and brings a whole ecosystem around that. So city centre for me is key.
Okay, thank you. And next to Pat.
Well, Andy, as you probably know, politicians are very territorial, the city, for those on the call who are not familiar with the city, Wolverhampton, like many cities, is in some ways some small villages put together, and we've got a very beautiful one called Bilston. And I think that the civil servants would be most welcome there. But wherever it goes, I can assure the Secretary of State that his staff will be warmly welcomed and they'll have a great experience working in Wolverhampton.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And Jane, I know what you're going to say.
I was going to say, I think I'll echo Pat that changed the name to Wentzfield, which is always a fabulous location. But the other part of me, I think one of the beautiful things about Wolverhampton, about the Black Country, is our industrial heritage and our older buildings. So maybe a mixture of the I9 with a little link into the Chubb building, which is a landmark of the city, because there's some beautiful office space and beautiful courtyard in there as well. But I'm sure there's lots of options, and the ministry will be looking carefully at all our great options.
Thank you very much. And Ian?
Yes, thanks very much. Pat's quite right, and Jane. Wolverhampton is a small series of villages linked together with gossip, and we've grown into a city. So we've all got our various parts, but all over the city is combined, including all our areas. Yeah, listen, we've talked about I9, purpose-built, some of the best connectivity, the space available to hit certainly Mr. Pocklington's in time scale. But yes, a new build, as we get further on down the process, will probably be required for the numbers that the Secretary of State is talking and planning of. So wherever we go, we'll do whatever we can to aid that transition. Thank you. Thanks, Andy.
And just one thought from me, Pete, very quickly. I mean, this debate will go on about which building was the first group moving to, but there's, I think, another point about the office market in Wolverhampton that comes from this. This should be a magnet for others who are dealing with MHCLG to want to come and think about their facilities as well. So hopefully it will spawn development in its own right. That's very much the thought about having the brains of this whole industry in one place. So there we go. Hopefully you've got all the local answers there, Pete.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. In which case, very quickly on the next three questions to Rob Mayer, the BBC's Black Country political correspondent. Quick as you can.
Thank you, Andy. I think my thunder's largely been stolen by those two legends before me, but I just wondered if I could ask about how this has been received by staff in the department. You know, we can all wax lyrical, can't we, about Wolverhampton and the West Midlands and what a fantastic place it is. But when other organisations have made these kind of moves, not least the one that I work for, it has found some resistance among the people who are working in London who don't want to relocate. So I just wondered, how have staff taken this news over the weekend and into Monday?
So I think, Jeremy, that should be for you as well. The executive and the political are divided. So there we go. Always organisationally divided, I mean. So Jeremy?
The announcement's gone down very well with staff. We've been talking to staff over recent days in advance of the announcement on Saturday, and it's been well received. I think there is recognition in the department, in the wider civil service, that it's important to be moving more roles outside of London. I think our experience over the past year working remotely has shown us that some of the barriers that have existed in the past connected to IT and communication have fallen away, and it's possible to work as a single department across the country and to really connect with communities and places as part of that work.
Thank you very much, Jeremy. So Megan Jones from Free Radio, you have the ultimate word. Mike should be open now, Megan.
Hi, sorry, just quickly then. I know this is amazing news for Wolverhampton and I don't want to take away from that. So I just wanted to quickly jump on once you'd all finished at the end. Just a question for Robert directly, Robert Jenrick. Could I ask just quickly a quick cladding question while you're on? You announced an unprecedented 5 billion for leaseholders, but there is a clause in that all fire safety defects need to be fixed first or you don't get the grant. Just a quick question, where are flat owners expected to find that money to do that?
So
I'll ask that one. I mean, it's not exactly related to this, but that's not correct. There isn't a clause saying all other defects have to be done first. It's simply saying that if other works are being done alongside the removal of cladding on buildings, then we need to make sure that the funding is in place, because the last thing anyone wants to do is to take cladding off a building and then not have the funding to complete the job that was being done. And so that's a perfectly standard contract that's operated for a long time. But can I just answer some of the other questions that have come up? Pat's suggestion of Bilston, I thought is definitely an interesting one. My dad started work at the old Cannon Foundry, which I think is long gone now. It was a go-kart centre last time I heard, but he knows Bilston very well. We'll obviously look at a range of different sites. The city centre makes a lot of sense, clearly, because it's fantastic transport links. I'm very aware of I9. That looks like a fantastic building. But Jeremy and the other excellent team within the department will be scouting around in the coming weeks and come to a conclusion as soon as possible. The Prime Minister said to me that he was keen on somewhere within walking distance of the Express and Star offices, because he has many happy memories there. I did work experience at the Express and Star at age 16, so both of us, in one sense, started our career there, although he was the only one who actually got a job, so look where he got to.
Lovely. Okay, thank you. So I have got one or two more hands, but I am going to say timed out. But just to say, there's a lovely note from Helen Dern, who leads the DWP in the West Midlands, who is Wolverhampton born and bred, saying wonderful news for our city. So Helen, thank you. Brian, you've put a question in about cladding. You've heard a bit from the Secretary of State on that, but I shall let that pass. And Andrew, my apologies that we do literally have to call stumps. But if you want to drop a note down, I'll get whoever can answer your question sorted out. But let me just see, Robert, is there anything else you'd like to say by way of conclusion?
Thank you to you, Andy, for your championing of the West Midlands and Wolverhampton. You and I have discussed this many times over the last few months, and so you've played a critical role in helping to secure this investment in the future of the city. I'm absolutely delighted for Wolverhampton. I think it's a great step forward for the department and the government as well. So it feels to me that this is a win-win for everyone, and I really look forward to bringing some of my senior civil servants to the city as soon as the restrictions lift and we're able to do so, to meet many of you, to see the city, to take Jane up on her offer to be the tour guide around Wolverhampton, and then towards the middle of the year be able to see people actually in place in Wolverhampton, and most importantly recruiting people from Wolverhampton and the West Midlands into the civil service based in Wolverhampton.
Well, can I just reciprocate by saying thank you, because I do know this has taken your leadership to get this over the line, actually, and you've shown an example to your colleagues in other departments, so we're looking forward to them following in the same vein. And I know you've been working on it for a long time to make it happen, so thank you very much. And I hope what's clear from everyone's contribution today is there'll be a brilliant welcome, and indeed all the organisations represented will do their bit to make it a huge success. So on that note, thank you all for your time this morning. Bye-bye, everybody.